Right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Gloves Off with Deshi Baktau. Today, iconic Marks Maponyane, a massive name in South African football, massive achievements, worked in television as well as an analyst for many, many years. So Marfa must have lots to tell us. Marfa, welcome. Good to see you. You look really good. Not as good as me, but you're looking all right.
Thanks, Deshi, and good to see you. And you're looking good too. Still looking slim.
Yeah. Marfa, I suppose we got to start by asking, where did it all start for you? How did it start?
It started in 1968 when I was a youngster kicking the plastic ball around Soweto streets. I was born in Meadowlands, 1962. And I started playing in the streets of Soweto and ended up going into the lower primary, the higher primary and the high school, but also with the local team, Submarine it was called, and you may ask what happened to it, it has sunk.
Yeah.
And then from there it was an interesting journey. Enjoying it as a youngster because every youngster in the township could kick the ball around. Remember, a tennis racket was expensive at the time and also a cricket bat. So it was common to play football. And I joined that club. And over the years, I thought I'm having a good time. But then came when I was 15 and I stopped playing football the whole year, because I had found love. Just like a youngster, you're in love, this football is disturbing me. And then a lot of senior citizens around the area came to my house and said to the parents and said to me, you can't stop playing football, you can't. And I thought maybe they've seen something in me. And then I went back and 2 years later I turned professional.
Was that the Chiefs time?
That's the Chiefs time. But interesting is, I was playing for a team called Shamrock Special, and we played in a cup final in Worsbury. We played in the TSL, Transvaal Soccer League at the time, and we played in a cup final, and I was banging in goals. So in this particular cup final, at halftime, we were leading 9-1. And the game ended, we ended up winning the game 9-2 in a cup final. And I'd already scored 6 goals, but I was substituted. And I thought, why are you substituting me? I said, no, we want to see how the team will look like without you. Without me, where am I going? And that's how I turned professional. Only to find that there was a scout from Kaizer Chiefs who was looking at me. And that was the last game. And from then on, I went to train with, instead of Chiefs, Scouted Chiefs was looking at me, but instead of Chiefs, Swallows heard that Chiefs is looking at me, and they came to my house and convinced me to come and train with them and join them. And I trained with Swallows for 1 week. And my father was a Kaizer Chiefs card-carrying member. And his friend down the road, Stan, we called him Stan Likungwana, he went to my father and went to Kaizer Chiefs and said, why did you let this youngster go? And he was crazy with Kaizer Chiefs. He just blew his gasket. And they got me out of Swallows training and started training with Kaizer Chiefs. And that's how I joined Kaizer Chiefs.
Now, Kaizer Chiefs, there's not much we can talk about. I mean, everybody knows exactly what you've achieved. But 2 seasons, I think it was 83 and again 87, 88, that you won the Player of the Year.
In fact, Footballer of the Year, 1983, 1987, and 1994 when I was with Orlando Pirates. So that's making me a 3 times Footballer of the Year winner. And it's been a journey, very interesting. I mean, just you can imagine turning professional at the age of 17, 18 I started playing because I joined Kaizer Chiefs, but I couldn't play. You remember how it was, and it's still the case now, where you can join, but you can't play because the window period is closed. Yeah. So I trained with the reserve. And then in the beginning of the new season, then I could start playing. So I started playing in 1981, and my debut was on the 12th of April, 1981, against Leicester City. Minnie Bowers and all those
Yes,
youngsters
yes.
out
Good
in
team too.
Eldos. Good team too.
Yeah.
And I scored in my debut. And from then on, never looked back, and joined the team, donned jersey number 7, and never wore any other number since then, whether for Bafana Bafana or Kaizer Chiefs or Pirates, let alone Dynamos and Vets.
Now, in those days, not many players went from Chiefs to Pirates or the other way around. But you were one of those.
I was one of those, but also with a caution. You know, it wasn't easy to move from Chiefs to Pirates because of the rivalry. And at the time, I realized the tension. And then I had to go to Dynamos. But I went to Dynamos for 1 year. But the interesting thing about Dynamos is, you know, when you've been playing for a big team and always been playing in front of a full house. And suddenly I got to Dynamos. It was a quality team, but obviously didn't have enough support. And I felt the pressure of playing for a small team when the decision goes against you because you're playing against a big team. Yeah? And I thought, gee, this is now reality. But what was very interesting about that experience is that playing during winter time for a team that has got no support is colder than you can imagine. You can feel the cold coming through the stands because it will always be a man and his dog,
Yeah.
or maybe one player with his family, and that's
Yeah.
it. You know, I thought, this is not where I belong. And that's how I went to Pirates, because I was used to atmosphere. I mean, you can imagine that for 10 years in front of an atmosphere,
Yeah.
and suddenly there is no more atmosphere. And that's how I got to Pirates.
So, were there differences between how Chiefs do things then, or did things, and how Pirates did things?
There were, obviously, and the differences were very minimal. Minimal in the sense that it would be a team that is used to achieving, and a team that hasn't won trophies for some time, and they want to change that. But the expectations and the professionalism was the same, because you can even look at it this way. It's not a team with ambitions and a team without ambition. So it's a team with ambition that I played for, and a team with ambition but haven't really been achieving that. And obviously to be part of that was a blessing, because it's new challenges.
Yeah, you were involved when Pirates won the championship and then won the Champions League as well?
Yeah, very interesting. I joined Pirates 1993, and I signed for Pirates on a Monday, trained for a whole week, and on Friday night I got a message to say, you're joining us tomorrow morning at the airport. We're going to Durban, we're playing Cosmos. We played Cosmos in the BP Top 8. I thought, but I just signed this week. I got to Durban, and we played at Chatsworth against Jomo Cosmos. Quarterfinals, BP Top 8, and I was wearing jersey number 7. Forget about the number.
Yeah.
I was wearing jersey number 7, but I was wearing black and white. For the first 45 minutes, Dash, I can tell you I was just not into it. I was looking at these colors and thinking, now black and white, me black and white. And I lost focus. And at halftime, the coach says, I know you can do better than this. Just get into it. And I thought, I know I can do better than this. And the fans are excited, but the Chiefs fans kept on saying, no, you can have him because he's over the hill anyway. Second half, the score was 1-0 against Pirates. Second half, I scored 2 goals in my debut at Pirates. I've been fortunate that I've been scoring in my debut in big teams, because you know that can make or break any player. And I scored a debut, and I started getting the warmth of the supporters. And then the late Bazuka Sishweni, the captain of Pirates then, scored the win, the third goal, and we beat Cosmos 3-1. Then we on to the semi-finals, and then we even won in the semi-finals. Clearly, we were now going to play in the finals against the Witbank Aces. And suddenly, on the week of the final, I was going to get my first trophy or medal with Orlando Pirates. And on the week leading to the final, and that's interesting how things were, they said, but Max can't play. What did he do? Last time when he played for Dynamos, he was supposed to sit out because he had 4 yellow cards. So that's how I missed out on the finals. But why didn't you pick it up in the quarterfinals?
Yeah.
You only pick it up now in the final. Anyway, then it became water under the bridge.
Yeah.
Then from there we focused on the league. You know the story after the BP Top 8, now it's the league. And it was a mild season, 1993. And then 1994, we got more players, quality players. We got the likes of John Mweti, Gavin Lane, Edward Mutale, Jerry Skosana, and we were untouchable. In fact, the squad that won the league 1994 and went on to win the Champions League, I can rattle the names just like that, from the goalkeeper Okpara. And that was the hot Orlando Pirates. And that's how we faced the challenges that I never thought was a good move to Pirates. But I still today believe that I was blessed to make that move, because I got the international, not international, but call it a continental competition experience.
Yeah.
Started traveling in and around the continent. I mean, we've been to Cameroon, we've been to Uganda, Gabon, everywhere, just in a quest for glory, including Nigeria. And obviously we ended up in Ivory Coast. But it has just been a challenge. And I thought this was a wise move. But other than that, just that medal of winning the Champions League. But you know, people think about the Champions League because that's the bigger prize. They never talk about the other things that happened thereafter. You know, after winning the Champions League, you have to play in the Super Cup.
Yes.
That will be the winners of the Champions League and the winners of the conference side of it.
Yes.
And then we conquered in the Super League. Then we had to play in what we call Afro-Asian Cup. I've never seen a medal like that, Desh.
Yeah.
But also an experience in traveling. We played against a team called Ilwa Chumwa from South Korea. And we traveled literally 2 days. I mean, at some point we were at Singapore airport in transit for 8 hours, using our bags as a pillow, you know. And it's just an experience. And when we got there, I'm just giving you an example. In fact, it's not an example, it's practical. At 11 o'clock in the morning here in South Africa, it's 5 o'clock there in the afternoon. That's kickoff time. Our minds and bodies were not adjusted to that. And before we know, we were 3-0 down at halftime. I mean, it's one of those experiences, but you realize you are on the other side of the world now. And just from where it started, winning the league here in Durban, and we end up on the other side of the world. So it was really an international experience to move to Orlando Pirates.
I tell you what, some amazing stories there. Martha, I got to ask you, what is your feeling on football today in South Africa, and what can be done if you feel something's wrong to fix it?
The interesting thing is, when it comes to football today, you've got the warm and the cold side of it. Not the hot, the warm and the cold side of it. And what is said about the warm and the cold side of it is that there is one word that can sum up the question, what is wrong? What is wrong is lack of consistency. And lack of consistency leads to uncertainty. Uncertainty from the fans. They are not sure who are they going to pay their money for. I mean, I'm giving this as a comparison to those days. Those days you would go to the game, whether it's Arcadia playing, you know that Noel Cousins will be putting the ball in the back of the net. Whether it's Moroka Swallows, you know that Ace Mnini will thrill you. Aubrey Makopela will thrill you, you know. And then you go to Kaizer Chiefs, you know Ace Nsulem will be there, Teenage Latla. Bloemfontein Celtic, you know that NS Chirwani will be there. I mean, the list is endless. Professor Ngubani. So you would be paying for characters that will entertain you. But nowadays, and that's where I think we should start with what is wrong. Nowadays, people are paying because the team has achieved in the past. You know, for instance, the name Kaizer Chiefs or the name Orlando Pirates is bigger than the characters. But in yesteryear, you would find that the characters are making that name what it is today. So the players today are working against the pressure of the legacy that yesteryear players have made. And they can't live up to that. And the reason they can't live up to that is that they are inconsistent. There are no characters. And confirmation of lack of characters is that those players those days were giving nicknames.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can ask me about 10 nicknames, no, I'm asking for too much. If you can ask me about 5 nicknames today, a battle. But yesterday you would have your Who's Fooling Huhlongwane, you would have your Go, you would have your Aldi Hookies, you'll have your Rider, you know? And the names were just coming out like that. They were coming out like that because the fans were showing their affection towards the players. But it's not. And you can show affection when something consistently thrills you. But if you're not sure what's happening, or what's going to happen today, you cannot bet on this horse because you don't know whether it's going to win or not. And that's the difference. But then people talk about development. I've heard that argument of development. It's not, for me, it doesn't hold water because we were not developed. We just loved the game. We focused on the game. But nowadays, players focus on a lot of things. When I say focusing on the game, we would travel in the same Kumbi, not even a luxury bus, Kumbi, microbus if you like, all the way from Durban or maybe Benoni here. I'll never forget that we played against Benoni United and I scored a hat trick. And all the way, the senior players were telling me where to get off because I missed 2 other chances. I could have scored 5. And they were telling me that, for it to be 3-1, we were worried about 3-2 and 3-all. Because of the chances that you missed, we were working under pressure. But how many strikers think that every chance you miss works against your defenders?
Yeah.
Not too many know that. But we're discussing that. But nowadays, another difference is that when they get into the bus, they just hold their expensive headphones and they're listening to what they're listening to, or they're always on the phones. Yes, maybe the advantage with us yesteryear is the fact that we didn't have all this technology, but the guys can just get out of the mess that they have got themselves into. I mean, you cannot be facing relegation and still after the game you're holding this. You should be worried about your tomorrow because relegation is just not relegation. People call it relegation, but it is very serious to note that we are talking about 35 players. With 35 players with an average of 4 players, in fact, 1 player feeding 4 mouths, you can multiply that by 35. And then you're no more earning 10,000, you are earning 1,000 because you are in the Glad Africa, which is the first division.
Yeah.
All those luxuries are gone because it's not the same grant as you're getting when you're in the Premier League. So those things should be worrying you.
Talking
but
about
nowadays
grants.
our life goes on.
Yeah, talking about grants. What's your feeling on the fact that the SABC, which is the national broadcaster, does not have the rights to football, Premier League football in South Africa?
Yeah, it goes back to, again, the change of times. Things have become commercial. And we all know that SuperSport do have the rights. And they have the rights because they are the highest bidder. And PSL would obviously go for the highest bidder. And at the end of the day, the man on the ground will suffer. And I will always say it's a commercial world. It's not about sentiments. It's about the rands and cents. So you cannot change. Who wants to run a business at a loss? And clearly PSL don't want to run the business at a loss. Yes, I understand the man on the ground is the one that is suffering. But what do? You go for what is good for your purse.
Absolutely. Martha, talking about the SABC, you and I spent many years there. Tell us about your time there. And how did it end? Why did it end? I still get stopped and asked about you. Where are you? Have I seen you? So there's people that still want to see you.
Yeah, in fact, I still do get stopped, but I fortunately have a slot on Radio 2000, which is SABC Radio. And how did it stop? That's the question. What happened is some point, SABC got into serious financial situation. But because of them being involved in such a quagmire, they realized that they have to save costs. And the only way to save costs was not to renew the contracts of people that have been there for years. I've been there for 28 years on TV. That's a lot. And they realized that they cannot reduce my salary because labor law obviously doesn't allow that. So the only way to save costs was to not renew contracts of the people that have always been there.
Yeah.
So they terminated our contracts and hoping that things will get better in the future. And I had to understand that. At the end of the day, it wasn't about, it goes back to what I said, that it's business, whoever the biggest bidder or the highest bidder. So in this case, they also had to understand that, we have to save costs, keep this ship afloat, and let us get rid of these people and keep others. And I understood that. It's all business things. Fortunately, Desha, one has gone through so much in life that you understand even the business angle or point of view of where other people come from.
Yeah.
So I understood that, and I just took it like a gentleman.
Right, you certainly did. I can tell you there's a lot of people that are still upset that they don't see you. But today, what exactly are you busy with?
I'm busy with things that I've been busy with over the years, and one thing that has always been my passion has been a motivational speaker. And I do go to a few companies and share things with them. What I mean is motivation talks, things that I've learned from the game, things that I've learned from life. You know, a lot of people think that football, over the years, you just kick the ball and all that, but you learn a lot of disciplines. You know that, Deshi. And you learn a lot of teamwork, how to work together. And not only players, but every time when people talk about teamwork, they think players. No, it also includes management, which also includes the technical stuff. So those are the things that I talk about. Even in business, we're talking about the admin block. You're talking about the board members. You know, those are the people that can keep the ship afloat. You know, and in sport is the same. You know, if you know the story when players are not paid well, but not paid, how do you expect them to go and play? You know, and when you're not checking or showing interest in their welfare or working conditions. So all those things that I've just alluded to are the things that I share with the people. But other than that, I also am involved in building with my brother. And building, when we say building is in general, we're building bridges, not burning them. So we build bridges, we build hospitals, we build schools. And that's what I'm busy with.
Okay, and these bridges, they're still standing?
They're still standing. We have to leave the bridges there.
Okay, Martha, listen, thank you so much for coming through. It's been an absolute pleasure to see you again, to chat with you, and to hear your life and your history, which I have no doubt some of the kids will use those lessons to further their own careers. And to everybody, please don't forget to subscribe to Gloves Off with Deshi Backtower.